Hello everyone, it's time we had a heart-to-heart about Tesla. I know this company is a more polarizing issue than some frankly political topics, and there's a lot of skepticism on this website, and also at the same time, there's a lot of mindless hype and blind speculation. And in this video, I'm gonna make a case that hasn't been presented anywhere else on YouTube, and I think by the end it actually will change your entire outlook on investing. So here's the short version of what I'm about to say. Tesla deserves the current price it has, if not more. The Tesla stock is not going to crash. Not independently, anyway. As in, you're not going to see Tesla crashing and suddenly having a correction, but then the rest of the market doing its own thing. The only circumstance where I could see a Tesla crash in stock price is under the guise or under the cover of some general market trouble or something more broad and macro level. And in order to justify this point, we actually need to take a look at a political view of the company. Now, I know a lot of channels really shy away from politics, I think from a pragmatic sense and also just a laziness standpoint. I know a lot of channels are very anxious when it comes to talking about politics, often arguing that politics has nothing to do with investing or it doesn't matter. For example, presidents come and presidents go, and yet companies continue to flourish and stock lines continue to go up. And there is some wisdom in this. However, it's shooting yourself in the foot to not include political theory and political speculation into your investment philosophy. I mean, we live in 2021, and the United States of 2021 is a system where government and corporation goes hand in hand, and you can approach this from any side of the political spectrum that's been set up, right? And you can point to bailouts for Wall Street during the 2008 crisis, or various subsidies, or corporate welfare. That's obviously the left side of those complaints. And then on the right side, you can make similar complaints, though approaching it from a different angle. Regardless, if you have an outdated and outmoded view on companies where you think, oh, corporations are separate and the government is separate from that, right? So they only come in from a regulatory standpoint, rather than actually the two working in concert, which is in the reality, which I will demonstrate in this video, you're going to be hopelessly lost when it comes to investing. For example, take the coronavirus, right? When the airlines were failing, that got a bailout from the system, because in reality, the airlines are such a basic utility for the health of a nation, they never ever will be allowed to fail. So obviously, the profits of airline companies will remain in private shareholder hands, and anytime there's any problem, the taxpayer, or through devaluing the currency, will pick up the slack. When you start to think that way, when you realize, oh, mega corporations in the United States literally will never be allowed to fail. No matter what the revenue does, no matter what the investment ratios are, anytime they're in risk of falling under, they'll be bailed out. And then when you start to see it that way, you realize, oh, it's a no-brainer. I can't fight against what the system wants when it comes to investing, right? You'll never ever be able to beat monetary policy. You'll never ever be able to beat stimulus policy. And clinging to old metrics that were popular once upon a time in the 1980s is going to leave you behind when it comes to investing. I know from my experiences in the early 2010s with Amazon, a lot of people just didn't get it, right? It was growing, yet there were no profits to speak of. The PE ratio is something insane, and people just didn't understand, because if you looked at it from a value investing standpoint, which a lot of people still cling to, I think because Warren Buffett is still influential and keeping a lot of people boxed into this 1980s investing mindset, you miss out on things like stocks and companies in 2021 are not about PE ratios, it's not about revenues, it's not about cash flows. It's about control, right? People who are investing in Amazon were realizing that this company was undercutting everything to gain control. And what happened? They gained total, utter domination and control over online shopping. You can take this same approach to Tesla. Tesla, if you're investing in that company, you are going to have control over the future of cars. What people don't understand is, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of whether it's efficient or the right call or not, the system wants electric cars. Tesla and electric cars have been granted untold research grants, subsidies, tax breaks under both the Trump administration and the Obama administration. It transcends parties because the system wants electric vehicles. You can make all sorts of environmental arguments, efficiency arguments, it doesn't matter. This has been the clear and consistent policy of the system for at least the past 10 to 15 years. Trying to fight against that will lead you straight to failure in investing. And to put the final nail in the coffin of value investing, if the annihilation of the Russell 2000 during the coronavirus pandemic and also the complete gutting of small business America, while the S&P 500 and mega corporations naturally reached greater and greater highs, should tell you everything you need to know that This isn't the value investing country that it was in 1980, and you probably know this already. Deep down in your heart, you know this is true. And because figures like Warren Buffett have been holding people back, still clinging to that old value of value investing, people haven't been mentally moving on yet, and I think in time they will. The United States isn't the country that Warren Buffett made his company in back in 1960 to 1980. The country that was 1980s America is totally and irrevocably gone. This is the United States of 2021. And in this country, companies with the backing of states have infinite, unlimited backing and can never fail. So if the system wants electric vehicles, you're gonna get electric vehicles. I mean, there's a saying, California is where the cultural elites are, and always, always, always that state leads the rest of the country by 10 years in terms of social policy and even environmental and economic policy in some cases. That state overwhelmingly has been supporting and giving tax breaks to Tesla. And in the future, don't be surprised, like you're seeing in other countries, a full-on mandate for all electric vehicles by certain years and certain dates. And despite all the people who say, bah humbug, this isn't possible, it will happen. People comply, it will happen. And the people who complain about Tesla's subsidies exactly prove my point, that subsidies actually are the greatest sign for a company you want to invest in. It means it has the backing of the system. You need to think of the United States as what it is. Investing in the United States in 2021 is like investing in Brazil, Russia, Saudi Arabia, or pick any proxy country you want to swap in for that. Overall, in the United States economy, there is destruction everywhere. Again, look at Small Business America this last year and the Russell 2000. But what survives in this collapsing environment are mega corporations, big corporations, with little, if any, competition that will never, ever, ever be allowed to fail because they are indispensable, because they control so much. Amazon, airlines, banks. Be real, think about it. If Tesla were ever to go completely belly up, it would get a bailout just like everything else. Even the conventional auto industry, which is a more severe case, mind you, got a bailout in 2008 to the early 2010s. Some shareholders wiped out, sure, but most were made whole by the end of it. That's what people need to realize. This is the same trajectory in terms of gaining market control, market dominance than Amazon. You're buying a company that will not be allowed to fail because the system wants electric cars. The actual statistics, quality, investing metrics don't matter in 2021. If you think about it, investors in countries, if you actually talk to them in countries such as Russia, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, you ever notice how they never developed a theory of value investing? Even China as well. There's no concept of value investing over there. It's because they know the only game in town is Gazprom, Petrobras, Armaco. That's it, there's no other game in town. And this happens obviously on a smaller scale, but people who invest in those countries always tend to invest in the big state-backed enterprises or something similar or something tertiary. And a lot of times if you actually talk to them, a lot of their focus is, okay, which cabal is in power, and so they have ties to this company, and so therefore I'm gonna invest, this seems to have the in with the system. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but that's the reality of the United States in 2021. You need to think like a Russian investor, a Brazilian investor, or an investor in any other country you want to pick of, not an investor in 1980s America. You will lose every single time. Value investing has failed. It failed during 2008, it failed before, and it's failed in the aftermath of 2008 as well. There's no other game in town. Invest like you're in Brazil, whether it's Tesla or anything else. If you think about it, Tesla is the only innovative thing to happen to the US in the last 10 to 15 years. They're not going to let that go. Now, sure, someday firms will buy up a lot of Tesla, or Tesla will be sold, and you'll find you won't like the new company's management. But for now, it's one of the few things the United States has going for it in terms of economic innovation or technological innovation. It's the future, and all these investing metrics don't matter. The government wants EV, they want electric vehicles, and Tesla will get subsidies so long as it requires them. In some cases it doesn't. Subsidies, bailouts, loans, offers, indefinitely. It doesn't matter. Do you think Brazil would let Petrobras fail? Do you think Russia would let Gazprom fail? No. Same thing with Tesla. Become a Brazilian investor, not a value investor. And I think eventually, when Warren Buffett is later forgotten, people will move on. And you'll see a new style of investing that's about figuring out what has the inroad with the government. That sort of investing will take over. And by the way, that kind of investing is actually the norm across the world. In the 1980s, people actually thought that the point of a company was to return value to shareholders, usually through a dividend. This is 2021. What companies are about is gaining total and utter market control such that they become indispensable, that they'll have infinite backing of monetary policy. and government spending. This is not a value judgment. This is a reality. When you invest, you need to divorce yourself from value judging and increasingly value investing. That's why value investing has done so poorly. Companies are about gaining control over sections of society, whether it's online products and delivery like Amazon or electric vehicles, which all governments want to make mandatory anyway within a few decades. That's why the valuation is what it is. It's actually not all these promises of phantom technologies and everything else that some speculators, especially that you would see on Reddit, that Tesla's gonna have trillions of dollars of revenue. It definitely could. I mean, that's certainly possible. For example, again, calling in Brazil and Russia, the mega corporations in those countries constitute a disproportionate part of the GDP. And so will the S&P 500 companies in the United States. There's a lot more to this topic, but within the scope of Tesla, that should cover everything. That's all for now. Check out down in the links in the description how to begin investing with M1 Finance and also my Telegram journal where I write my more detailed thoughts on investing in personal finance, entrepreneurship, and personal autarky. Thanks for watching.